English through heartwarming stories.
In the last video, we mentioned that Kimberly, who lives alone, bought a used desk from a flea market. She accidentally discovered a yellowed diary from World War II inside it. The diary belonged to Lech, who had emigrated from Poland to Canada with his family. However, Lech got separated from his family. Did Lech ever find his family? Did they return to Poland after the war? How did Lech start a new life in Canada with no relatives or friends? You will find some answers in today's video.
March 10th, 1940, Sunday, cloudy. I am feeling exhausted right now. I found a temporary job as a porter on the docks. While working, I held my family photo and asked everyone I met if they had seen my family. A month later, another ship from Poland arrived, but there was still no news of my family. Fortunately, I met Jan, who came from my village. He had relatives in Quebec City and was willing to take me with him. The work of dock porters was unstable, and sometimes I didn't even have food for a day. So, I might go to Quebec City with Jan to make a living. June 19th, 1940, Wednesday, raining. I was seriously ill last week. I had a fever, vomited, had a headache, and ached all over. Thanks to Jan, who took care of me carefully, I feel better now. I have been in Canada for half a year, but I still cannot get used to the completely different language, culture, and food. Additionally, I miss and worry about my family badly. It is a tough time for me, but I am also growing up from it. I have decided to learn the language well, acquire a skilled trade, support myself, and save money to find my parents and my younger brother Jersey. January 4th, 1941, Saturday, wind. With the help of Jan's uncle, I found a job as a carpenter's apprentice. I work 12 hours a day. At first, I often got injured because I lacked the necessary skills. But the physical pain is nothing compared to the psychological anguish. After a tiring day, I lay in bed, but I couldn't sleep. I keep a family photo in the breast pocket of my shirt, the place closest to my heart. I miss my family all the time. I often run to an open space and shout their names. Dad, Mom, Jersey, where are you?
Reading this, Kimberly shed silent tears and they fell onto the diary. She quickly wiped them away with her sleeve and continued to read. March 27th, 1941. The diary suddenly switched from Polish to English. Although the writing was not fluent and some vocabulary was incorrect, Kimberly could see that Lech was working hard to learn English and adapt to the new environment. Sometimes, when he couldn't express himself in English, he reverted to Polish. Seeing this, Kimberly smiled, remembering that when she was learning Polish, she often used English to make notes. She understood how challenging it was for Lech to learn a new language. As time went by, Lech's writing became more fluent and his vocabulary more precise. Kimberly felt happy for Lech, whom she had never met.
July 1st, 1942, Wednesday, sunny. Today is my 18th birthday. I invited Jan and a few friends to celebrate. There is still a shortage of supplies, and food is distributed on a point system. I had been hungry for weeks but finally saved up enough food to make a nice dinner. I am so happy to have the support of these friends. Silently, I made a wish in my heart, hoping to find my family as soon as possible. August 29th, 1942, Saturday, thunderstorm. Today I met Uncle Henrik on LaSalle Street. He used to work in a factory with my dad. He told me that my dad failed to board the ship to North America. He fell ill and then died a few months later. Although I had considered the possibility, I still couldn't believe it when I heard it with my own ears. I could never see my dad again, never go hunting in the woods with him again. I cannot immerse myself in grief. I must find my mother and little Jersey. They are my only relatives in the world. Jersey is still so young. How will my mother support him? I have saved some money over the years, and I want to hit the road again to search for my mother and brother in other big cities.
Suddenly, the doorbell rang. It was the neighbor's kid. He kicked a ball into Kimberly's backyard and came to pick it up. Kimberly looked at the little boy and thought that Lech's younger brother must have been about his age at that time. After sending the little boy away, Kimberly returned to the sofa and continued reading the diary. January 1st, 1943, New Year's Day. Lech stayed overnight in an old barn and wrote in his diary. It had been 3 months since his last entry. Lech had traveled all the way from Quebec City to Montreal and then to Toronto. He searched through areas where Polish people gathered, but still could not find any trace of his mother and brother. February 5th, 1943. He spent all the money he had and had to find a new job. Although his craftsmanship was not exquisite, he was hardworking and found a job quickly. Just when Kimberly was curious about Lech's life after that, the diary stopped abruptly. But there were still some blank pages left. Why didn't Lech continue to write? Did something unexpected happen? Or did he find his family and no longer need to keep records? Kimberly couldn't calm down. She looked up and saw that the lights were starting to come on outside. Unconsciously, night had fallen.
Let's recap the vocabulary we learned above.
Let's explore the meaning of the word temporary. When we say something is temporary, it means that it is not permanent and is only intended to last for a short period of time. A temporary situation, job, or condition is one that will eventually end or change. For example, if you take a temporary job for the summer, it means you are only working there for a few months and not planning to stay permanently. Now, let's see how temporary is used in the original text. I found a temporary job as a porter on the docks. In this context, temporary is used to describe the job as one that Lech does not expect to keep for a long time. It indicates that this position is only a short-term solution for him, likely until he can find something more stable or permanent. Let's explore the meaning of the phrase, get used to. When we say someone needs to get used to something, it means they need to become accustomed or familiar with it over time. This usually involves adapting to a new situation, environment, or habit until it no longer feels strange or difficult. For example, if you move to a new city, you might need to get used to the different weather, the local culture, and the new daily routines. Now, let's see how get used to is used in the original text. I have been in Canada for half a year, but I still cannot get used to the completely different language, culture, and food. In this context, get used to is used to express Lech's struggle to adapt to the significant changes he is experiencing in Canada. Despite being there for 6 months, he finds it challenging to become comfortable with the new language, culture, and food. Let's explore the meaning of the word apprentice. When we say someone is an apprentice, it means they are learning a trade or skill from an experienced professional. An apprentice works under the supervision of a mentor or skilled worker to gain practical experience and knowledge in a specific field. For example, if someone wants to become a carpenter, they might start as an apprentice to learn the craft by working with a master carpenter. Now, let's see how apprentice is used in the original text. With the help of Jan's uncle, I found a job as a carpenter's apprentice. In this context, apprentice is used to describe Lech's role as someone who is learning the trade of carpentry. It indicates that he is not yet a fully skilled carpenter but is working under the guidance of a more experienced professional to acquire the necessary skills and knowledge. Let's explore the meaning of the word distribute. When we say someone is going to distribute something, it means they will hand out or deliver items to various people or places. Distribution involves dividing and giving out parts or shares of a whole to different recipients. For example, if a teacher distributes worksheets to students, they give a copy of the worksheet to each student in the class. Now, let's see how distribute is used in the original text. There is still a shortage of supplies, and food is distributed on a point system. In this context, distribute is used to describe how food is handed out to people based on a point system. It means that the available food is divided and given to individuals according to certain rules or criteria, ensuring that everyone gets a fair share despite the shortage. Let's explore the meaning of the word grief. When we say someone is experiencing grief, it means they are feeling deep sorrow, usually due to the loss of someone or something important to them. Grief is an intense emotional response to loss, often involving feelings of sadness, pain, and mourning. For example, when someone loses a loved one, they go through a period of grief, during which they process and cope with their emotions and the reality of the loss. Now, let's see how grief is used in the original text. I cannot immerse myself in grief. I must find my mother and little Jersey. In this context, grief is used to describe the deep sorrow Lech feels over the loss of his father. However, he is determined not to let this overwhelming sadness consume him. Instead, he focuses on the urgent task of finding his remaining family members, channeling his emotions into action. Let's explore the meaning of the word abruptly. When we say something happens abruptly, it means it occurs suddenly and unexpectedly, often without any warning or preparation. An abrupt change or action is typically quick and surprising, catching people off guard. For example, if a meeting ends abruptly, it means the meeting was stopped suddenly, perhaps before it was planned to end, leaving participants surprised or unprepared. Now, let's see how abruptly is used in the original text. Just when Kimberly was curious about Lech's life after that, the diary stopped abruptly. In this context, abruptly is used to describe how the diary entries come to an unexpected and sudden end. This sudden stop leaves Kimberly, and likely the reader, surprised and curious about why the writing ceased without any indication or conclusion.
Now, it's quiz time. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Question 1. What does temporary mean? A. Permanent and long-lasting. B. Lasting for a short period of time. C. Unexpected and surprising. Question 2. What does it mean to get used to something? A. To immediately understand something. B. To become familiar with something over time. C. To reject or avoid something. Question 3. What does abruptly mean? A. Suddenly and unexpectedly. B. Calmly and peacefully. C. Slowly and gradually.